your unique value proposition is, whether you like it or not, tied into who you are as a person. So being real on Instagram, however you want to put yourself out there to the world, that is your uniqueness.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
All right, designers, I'm bringing back a very popular episode. This is an episode where I interviewed Dina Holland of Honey and Fits. If you don't already follow her on Instagram, what the heck are you doing with your life? She is so freaking hilarious. She's from the Boston area, Massachusetts, and she is just so witty, so smart, and so successful. And you're going to love this episode because we talk about building a team. If I remember correctly, in this episode, when I interviewed Dina, she was on vacation, and you can hear I think it's the cicadas in the background. It is so funny. So listen for that. Let me know how you enjoy this episode with Dina. If you are somebody who is looking to grow your team, even just a little bit to grow your business, you're going to love this episode with Dina Holland. Enjoy. Well, hello, Dina.
Hello, Rebecca.
I'm so excited. I feel like we've tried to have you on the podcast multiple times, and like with scheduling, it didn't work out. So I'm so excited we're here.
Now it's happening, and I'm in the jungle.
You're in the jungle. What you guys can't see is Dina has what I thought was like a faux Zoom background, but it's actually where she is. It's this beautiful tropical oasis.
Just off the coast of North Carolina.
You're living my dream, by the way. I feel like I should have been born on the Eastern Seaboard, like in the US. Like I love like everything like Nantucket, Cape Cod. I haven't been to any of these places, but I have this vision of what it's like. And like even North Carolina, South Carolina, like I can't wait. My sister lives in Boston, right? And so that's where you are. But like the pandemic, I want to go and travel. And I had this big plan for my 40th birthday to go to Nantucket and like rent a house and bring like all my friends down. Cause I was like, I'm going to wear red pants. It's going to be the dream. And then I see you. I'm like, she's living my dream. That girl.
That's funny because it doesn't feel like, I mean, it's just the grass is always greener, right?
It's what you know.
I'm just like, it's summer. Here we go. We've got 6 weeks. Let's do this.
I know. Okay.
Anyway.
So wait, let's just share for a minute who you are, what you do for those who don't know, and how we met. But first, tell us their story.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Dina Holland. I am the founder and principal of my own design firm, Dina Holland Interiors. My business started close to 10 years ago with a blog. The interior design and social media landscape was very different 10 years ago. If all you babies out there can imagine, it was like Blogger, WordPress was just getting started. Pinterest didn't exist. I mean, doesn't that sound crazy? Like Instagram was kind of just starting like in Silicon Valley, and you had to get an invite to get on. Facebook pages was just starting. Like Facebook at that time was still mostly just a way of keeping in touch with like your friends and your family or whatever. So it was really different. And I started it as really just a way of chronicling like my own interior design stuff that I was doing in my house. And so I don't have any formal interior design training. It was just a passion that I discovered and came to as a second career. And at the time I was living in Carolina. I was living in a planned development, which is very common here. It was like 400 houses and they were all very cookie cutter. And I just started doing things to my own house. And when everybody's house looks exactly the same and your neighbors come over, it's easy to be like, well, how come this doesn't look like my house, even though it looks exactly like my house? And it just started that way. It just kind of word of mouth, just small projects. And then fast forward, here we are 10 years later, we've relocated. We live back in the Boston area, which is where I'm originally from. And that move just came at a time when my kids were, I moved back to Boston when my now 8-year-old was not yet born. So those initial years where you're a young mom at home, you're trying to find your way, you're trying to do something that isn't all about the babies all the time, that actually still uses like your brain. So those, it's not like Paw Patrol. Those initial years were, we were renovating our old house. I was still chronicling it all on the blog. And I just kind of, I always tell people, like, I am a product of what my clients pushed me to be, I tried to not say no to projects. I tried to feel that fear of like, holy crap, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm going to figure out and do it anyway. Those are the projects. Those are the moments that move my career forward for sure. So yeah, here we are 10 years later. We have
your blog was called Honey and Fit, right?
Yeah.
Honey and that's your Instagram handle.
Exactly. Yes.
But
it was one of those things where I never thought in a million years that it would still be following me 10 years later, but here we are. That's the name.
So amazing. So the house that you live in now, which is so beautiful, though, I love it, is not the house that you did when you were blogging. So that's a different house.
Right. Yes, exactly right. And when I started blogging, I was living in, like I said, like a planned development type of home in North Carolina. And we moved to a 100-year-old, needed to be gutted, renovated home in 2012. Yeah, in 2012. So this is a different home. And that home we lived in for 5 years before we moved out and gutted it and put an addition on and that whole thing. And talk about trial by fire, right? It was like, you're going to learn all of the, and this is what I always tell people, like, if you didn't go to design school and you didn't pay for design school, you're going to pay one way or the other. But you're going to pay in experience and in mistakes and whether or not you can then take those mistakes and turn them into learnings and not repeat them in your business that's your education.
I can tell you, even if you go to design school, you're going to pay for mistakes.
It happens, right? Yeah.
You can't learn everything in school. And you know what? I think doing your own house, I'd be interested to hear from you, but I feel like, because I only have done like small renovations to my own house, I feel like when you do your own whole house, like whether it's a big reno or a new build, it's like trial by fire, and you learn so much that you can then take into, and you can make mistakes. And when it's your place, it's a bit, it still might be costly. But you're maybe not as hard on yourself. I don't know. I feel like, did you take anything away from doing your own house into design work with clients?
Yes. You can never trust any communication that is had verbally. Everything must be documented, because when it hits the fan, and it always does, you need to be able to rely on documentation. That was huge. It's like, it's easy to fly by the seat of your pants when it's just you, but those things always come back around. So planning as much as possible, documenting as much as possible. And then the other thing I learned is you're only as good as the tradespeople that you surround yourself with. Bottom line, doesn't matter how amazing or creative your ideas are. If you have tradespeople that don't know how to execute them, or aren't willing to put the work in to figure out how to execute it, aren't willing to be collaborative with you, and they're just like, well, it said 6 inches, so I made it 6 inches, even though clearly 6 inches is off center. If you don't have that kind of team around you, it's more painful.
Totally. It's so funny because when I worked in the industry, when I started, I worked for a designer, and he did all these high-end houses, and I worked with his trades. And, I never had to be that detailed when I specified things, because they're so skilled and experienced. They just knew, and they would ask the right questions. They would question the drawing. They'd say, well, I think it should be this. And I'd say, oh, yep, I agree. You're totally right. How? And then when I went out on my own, I didn't have the same access to the same trades, because I was working on lower budgets. And so mistakes to appear that I'd never seen before, because I didn't know to anticipate them. And the trade that was doing the job, literally, like you say, was like, this is what the drawing said. I'm like, but if it looks wrong, you need to use your brain and ask me the question. So not everybody has that. Totally.
Not everybody has it. Not everybody's willing to put in the extra time or like takes the pride in their work. You don't know that though in the beginning. You don't know. You're just like, okay, this client hired me, and this is the contract that they had, hired. So I'm working with. You don't know. And you, even more scary, don't know what you don't know at the beginning. You don't know what questions to ask. You don't know like the 95,000 things that could go wrong, And so now after you've done a kitchen a few times, after you've done a bathroom a few times, you are like, okay, well, we're going to need a filler. You don't know all those things in the beginning. So it's good to get them out of the way. But everybody goes through that process. And so all you can do is take those learnings, try to document them for yourself, try to remember them, and raise your rates accordingly as you learn them.
Yes, girl, preach. Totally. Okay. So
that's the value that you bring to the equation. You know what I mean? And I think as designers, especially even more so as women, we undersell ourselves. Creative people are constantly like, well, everybody knows that. That's not that special. That's not, how could I charge for that? Everybody knows that. That's on Pinterest. Everybody knows that. Well, everyone doesn't know it.
Totally. We take our own knowledge for granted, and we take our own curiosity for granted. So just because you're on Pinterest looking at how high to hang a dining room light fixture doesn't mean the average person is doing that. And they actually value that expertise.
Right. It's totally true. But it's that voice in your head being like, well, it's not that special.
Except here's the thing, Dina, you specifically, okay, there's so many things I love about you, but one of the things that relates to what you're saying now is I love how you just push the boundary, and maybe it doesn't feel like a boundary to you, but I would think that a lot of designers don't necessarily have the guts to forward and do what they really want as far as their design aesthetic, because you have such an uncompromising way about you where you're like, I love color. I'm designing with color. I'm mixing patterns and I think it's quite brave. So how do you, like, you talk about how we have this kind of back talk holding us back and not charging enough, but how do you have the, sometimes the cojones to just say, like, use this hot pink drapery because your projects are beautiful. I love color. And maybe this is a question coming from someone who wishes they were doing a little bit more like that. How have you been able to, do you have to push your clients, or do they just say, like, whatever you want, and then you just confidently say, this is going to work? Like, how did you, I guess, bridge that barrier of not just doing what I think everybody?
Oh, okay. This is an interesting question. So I remember, it was probably 2015 or something. And I was just like, my kids were at an age where they were going to start to go to school full time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this full time. What's my brand? What am I about? What is my design aesthetic? And I asked just on Instagram, I just put it out there. And every response that came back was like color, traditional, but with color. And I thought, really? Is that how people see me? They see me as being like a colorful designer. I was so just like, I'll just do what I like, that I wasn't even able to put a fine point on, I like color, until people started saying that. And then I started looking around and going, wow, I guess that's true. I guess a lot of what's out there is neutral. I guess that I wasn't even able to identify that for myself. But once I did, and I looked around and thought, that is what I like. I think as designers, it's always a little bit scary to, I don't want to say pigeonhole yourself, but what you put out to the world is what the world views you as. So you have to be really careful about, just because you did a really great DIY project with some tile from wherever, if that's not what you want to be doing going forward, then you need to keep that on the DL. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you can still do it. Just share it on Instagram.
Yeah. And I see young designers sometimes sharing things, and I'm like, girl, just you keep that in some projects pay the bills, and some projects make your portfolio, and they don't have to be the same thing, because what you put out there is what people see you as. So I made the decision that I wanted to work in color. That's what I found fun. That's what I found exciting. That's what I found the most challenging, like how to mix colors, how to mix patterns. So I started to really get serious about curating the images that I put out to the world in Instagram, on the blog, whatever it might be, to only be things that served what I wanted my brand's aesthetic to be. But then what happens is, you fast forward a few years and you go, I could do neutral too, but you're not getting any of those calls for neutral, because your entire portfolio and everything you've put out to the world is, an explosion of fun color. So again, I would say, it's just been, I am a product of what my clients have pushed me to be, you know? And so like, I have a few projects where maybe we started off with really bold color in the kids' room, and then we came down to the like more formal living areas, and they wanted to do a little less, you know, so that's how I've been able to like, you know, bridge the gap into maybe more neutral, slightly more sophisticated things. As to whether or not I've had to push clients, for sure in the beginning, because they're looking at you like, who the hell are you? We're going to mix purple and red. What are you talking about? You know? It's hard in the beginning, right? Like it's hard to stand in that space and be confident and like act as if like, no, it's going to be great. So you need to have images to support those ideas, whether they be renderings, whether they be your own house. You need to be able to push the boundaries and to have sort of like that supporting cast behind you that can, whether, like I said, whether it be images or whether it be other clients or that kind of thing. But I would say
renderings when you do projects, do you have a rendering? Is it 2D?
I do. I've gotten better about asking up front because, you know, we all get that like, oh, I just can't picture how it's going to look, that thing at a design presentation. And for years, my answer to that was, the great news is you don't have to picture how it's going to look. You're paying me to picture how it's going to look.
I love that.
And the picture's amazing, just so you know.
And did that work?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, no, it can work. It can work. I mean, if you say stuff confidently, it can work. But listen, when you're spending 6 figures of someone's money and you're just saying, hey, just trust me, it gets easier as you get more under your belt. In the beginning, though, a rendering is super powerful. So yes, I have used renderings for like large scale kitchen renovations, or even just rooms where I'm like, this is bananas and I know it's going to be great, but how the heck am I going to get these people to see that this bananas is not like Looney Tunes, you know?
I love it. It's so true. You know, it's like they're hiring you for the vision because they don't have it. But sometimes there's an element of trust or they're not quite sure.
Oh, gosh,
and
yes.
So when you paint the picture for them physically with a rendering or photographs or whatever, then they can say, oh, yeah. Okay, I see where you're going with this. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. And I have been so lucky, so blessed that now I'm at the point in my career where I'm working with clients, you know, on multiple homes. Like maybe this is their second home that I've worked with them on. Maybe it's their vacation home I'm working with them on. Once you get a few projects with a client under your belt, if those go well and you're transparent about your process, like it's like a relationship. That first couple of dates is awkward, but after a while, it's so seamless and lovely. Like they trust you, you come up with a crazy idea, but they're like, well, it worked last time, you know, so just do your thing, or whatever. They trust you with their finances. They trust you with the vision. I mean, that's where the magic happens, I think. That and clients who I've been so fortunate. I can think of 2 clients specifically in my career who have been like, no, we really want to go for it. Like, don't bring me anything I've ever seen before. Like, wow. You know, right. And I left those meetings being like, holy shit, what am I going to do?
The pressure is really on. It's like, oh my goodness.
Exactly. Yes, I have left those meetings being like, I'm a fraud and everyone's going to know. But those are the times when you have to be pushed hard like that. And I remember that client, I came to the initial design presentation and it was the husband. The husband said to me, he's like, I think this is great, but I think it could be greater. And so I left that meeting being like, oh my God, what do I do now?
Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. But
crazy.
It came out, you know, that's where the magic is. Are you
still getting, okay, so we kind of skipped that part, but you met at High Point. Because like when I met you at High Point, I think you said most of your clients you got through Instagram. Is that still the case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely still the case. Now Instagram is so far reaching. There's so many millions of people on it that initially there was a lot of talk, and this is the way this happens for all social media, right? Like there was a lot of talk initially of like, well, are my clients on this platform? Like, should I be investing time on this platform, or is this all, 20-year-old kids kind of thing? Now it's so far reach, like your grandmother's on Instagram. Everyone's on Instagram now, right? And just like copy and paste with whatever new social media network is going to be. After a while, when they permeate the culture, it's just the best. It's like a Super Bowl ad. Like it's just the best way to reach people, period. So even when I get local clients, they'll say like, oh, I heard your name from a friend and Instagram, or I've got your name from a Facebook group and I follow you on Instagram. So it's become, I think now almost like what it was like, you go, well, we've got to have a website. Obviously you have to have a website. You hear about somebody and then you go and check out their Instagram. I know I do that. Totally. For like various industries. So it's almost like the first, it's like the first portfolio that you're able to present them, because more people now are going there than they are going to your actual website.
Yeah. And then they can also get a sense of you and your personality, which is sometimes a little more challenging to convey on a website.
100%. I'm so happy you said that, because I made the decision, I don't know, when Instagram stories started, I guess I made a decision that like, I'm going to use this platform almost as like a weeding out process. I don't want to work with people who are not fun. I don't want to work with people who like, we're not curing cancer, right? Like we're talking about pillows. Not to downplay what we do, because it has a huge impact on people's lives. It has a huge impact on people's emotions, how they live at home. But let's not lose sight of the fact that like, this is supposed to be fun, this process that we're going through. It's going to be stressful. It's going to cost a lot of money, but in the end, it's supposed to be fun, right? And like, I don't want to work with people who are too serious or who don't maybe get my humor or whatever it is. So by the time someone has called me, emailed me, whatever, if they've been on Instagram, then they know like, okay, this is what her day is like. This is what her team is like. This is what her personality is. This is how she works with other clients. It almost is like a weeding out process, right? You're not going to call if you are like, I just want to do a black and white room. You're not going to call if you want some real like super, I don't even know, like foo-foo-y, like design kind of presentation. I'm not that person that's going to be like, I was inspired by the Himalayas and this fabric.
Oh my God.
I wish I was like that. I wish I had more of that, like, but I don't know.
Yeah. Like you put out a board. What is that? Like a flag, and it's like, this piece of wood is from my travels in Ecuador.
Who are those people? Can they do a TED Talk? Because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to,
Oh my God, I love it. You're so right. Like for me, I took on Instagram stories this way. I'm like, I'm just going to put it all out there. Like, this is who I am. This is my personality. And, it was scary at first, I'll tell you, because, really like saying like, here I am doing this thing. And I think you and I are similar in that sense. And we'll just say what's going on, whether it's personal, mostly professional. Yeah. But then what happened was people who start to follow you, then you start attracts like, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Start attracting people who they're like, Rebecca, you're so funny. I love this. I love how you did this thing. And oftentimes as designers, we can show more in stories than we show on our feed, right? We can show the thing getting made or the process behind the scenes with our team. And you are like exceptional at that. And it's funny because before I met you, I don't even know how I landed on your Instagram account, but I started following you on Instagram and I thought you were freaking hilarious because I guess we have a similar sense of humor. And I went to High Point with the Business of Design group.
Yep.
We're like in this little meet and greet room, like first night. And then in walks Honey and Fitz. And I'm like, oh my God, I had like a fangirl moment. I was like, oh, I know her from Instagram. Because it was the first time I'd met somebody who I only knew through social media. Like it was really the beginning of that. And then like you ended it off. And I still remember though, you being, well, I want to talk about this actually, because when we met, I feel like you were just not transitioning, but you adding a new leg to your business.
Yeah.
You're about to. And I don't even know if you told me that. I just remember this is my memory, and it would be funny for you to hear this. Like we'd have like breakfast, right? We'd all have breakfast. And then you're like, okay, I'm just going to hit up like A, B, and C supplier. And like you would zip out like the hustler that you are. And I don't even know where you went. Right. And you made all these contacts and who knows what you were doing. And then you came back and met the group and we'd be like looking at art. And I feel like you saw probably 50% more than I did of High Point just because like pure hustle, like on your feet go. I remember being so tired at the end of the day and putting my feet up. Yeah. And you came and we're like having a drink together and you were like, and here and there and there. And I'm like, I don't even know half these places. Like I've never even heard the names of these places.
That was the first time I'd been to High Point, that particular trip. And it was one of those things where I I knew for a few years, I need to go to this thing. I need to go, but it's intimidating. You don't know how to, whatever. You don't know how to do it. So I guess I went in thinking, I got to make the most of this, right? I'm going to go with this group. They're going to help me figure out the lay of the land. There's going to be some good learning opportunities. I'm going to meet other designers, which I still think is the most valuable part of High Point, is the networking that you do with other designers, because we work in such a siloed kind of, solo industry for most of us. But I was really focused on I need to take advantage of this time here. So it became clear to me after the first day that if I just stay with the group, we're just going to go do these lovely little meet and greet kind of things. But I came with a list of support. I was I need to go see these people. So I'm not real big on rules. So I would just leave and then come back.
I noticed that. Where did Dina go? You're just
are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed to just leave?
Everybody else is following the group, and you're I'm just going to go. And I was like, see you later. You just took off. You had a purpose and a mission. And I loved that.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's an investment to go to High Point or to do any of these things. So you need to make sure that you're getting as much out of it as you can. Yeah. But I had that particular market. I was really focused on finding some different suppliers, because you're right. I was at a point where I was interested in pursuing other revenue streams into the business, right? Because whether you bill hourly, whether you bill flat rate, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You are one person. You are constrained by just the number of hours in the day. So, there's a few different levers you can pull, I guess, to make more money. You can raise your rates, all of that. But I thought, okay, well, I've got a bit of a following here on Instagram. And I just had this revelation one day that no matter how big I ever grew that Instagram following, what % of those people were ever going to hire me to do what my primary business is? 1%, half of 1%, maybe somewhere in there, you would think 2% if you're lucky. So how do I monetize the other 98% of these people that are following me and have expressed via their follow an interest in what I'm doing and interest in what I'm creating, but don't have the opportunity to actually, hire me in this traditional capacity. So I thought about a few things there. I thought about okay, well, could I do, sort of printable, worksheet, tear sheet kind of things that I could sell in a package for homeowners, paint colors, measurement guide. Sure. Could I, could I sell them? Could I pivot and just make it something just for designers, like a B2B kind of offering? And ultimately I landed on, I was getting so many DMs every day. Anytime I post a project, where's this from? Where's that from? Where can I get this? And it gets exhausting, right? To tell people you can get it through me, or, hey, it's to the trade only, but I can help you or whatever. And I was selling things to people that way on a one-off basis, very much just a lot of things. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't do this. I can't just be in my DMs every day trying to keep, and anybody who has, your DMs are a disaster. It's who am I talking to? Flag. I can't find,
Yeah. Who said I can't search them? It's a mess.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it started off, the idea just being, I will feature things that I've used in projects. So, and it still is very much that way. It's just, it's never going to be Wayfair Overstock. It's always going to be a hyper curated version of e-commerce that is specific to projects, brand, the things that I've seen that I want to use, things that I have used. It's always going to be that. I will say it very quickly became, it's a bit of a labor of love. It is a completely different business model. And I think that there's a lot of these micro e-commerce sites popping up. I've seen a lot more designers sort of pursuing that, and I think it's great. I think that everybody, your unique value proposition is, whether you like it or not, tied into who you are as a person. So being real on Instagram, being however you want to put yourself out there to the world, that is your uniqueness, right? So when we get into these, I think we get into these headspaces of she's also in my service area, and so she's my competition or whatever. It's yeah, sure, you offer the same things, but you're different people. And this is such a personal business. You're in someone's life for the better part of a year. Mm-hmm. And I always tell clients this when I meet them for the first time, we need to like each other, because this is going to be rough if we don't like each other, So anyway, just getting back to the e-commerce thing.
I think it's interesting because I have seen, especially in the pandemic, tons of designers pop up with, now I have this curated line and you can buy this. And I'm super curious. And you were ahead of the curve in a way, like you definitely launched your business before the pandemic. I'm curious, like, is it something that designers should consider? Is it a viable income stream? But like you say, it is a completely different business model. So I imagine it requires different skill sets, different people, different team members. Do you want to maybe like, I'm so curious. I also thought, same thing. Like all these people on Instagram, they can't afford to, or in my location to hire me as my services. But then I think about product. I think, holy cow, that's like a logistics nightmare.
It is a logistics
nightmare. That sort of held me back. But I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been hotter on the e-commerce thing than I am right now, specifically because the pandemic has made everything harder. But the hardest thing about running an e-commerce site right now, especially a small e-commerce site, is just inventory. It is so difficult to know what's in stock, what's not in stock, especially if you're not, our business is a mix of owned inventory and then dropship inventory. And I would suggest to most designers out there considering that it should be both, because, you don't want to be sitting on $20,000 worth of inventory and then the whole world shuts down.
So dropship, just for those who don't know what that means, do you want to explain that?
Sure. Yeah. Dropship is basically an established relationship with a manufacturer where they hold the inventory. And if you get an order for that piece, you send them the order and they ship it from their warehouse directly. So you never have to go to manufacturer XYZ and say, I'm going to buy 5 of those lights and I'm going to store them in my warehouse because I think I can sell 5 of those lights. And if I can, it's on me, but I already paid you for 5 of those lights. Dropship is, I'm not going to buy 5 of those lights. I'm going to offer these lights for sale. And if someone buys them, then I will go to you, XYZ manufacturer, and say, hey, I sold that light. Here, I'm buying that light. Can you send that light to my customer?
Right.
All of that broke down, right, with the pandemic, and it's still broken. So it's really hard to know how much inventory to hold of something. Hey, I think this vase is cute. Let's buy 50 units. 50 units blew out in 10 minutes. Crap, could I have sold 75? I don't know. Could I have sold 80? I don't know. Could I have just sold 50? If I had bought 80, would I have been holding 30? There's that game. And there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. That's just how, whatever retail works. But the dropship thing, it's like, okay, you've got things for sale on your site and you're hoping and praying that manufacturers have those things in stock. And then when people order them and you have to go back to them and say, hey, that thing you ordered, it's actually not in stock. It's not going to be in stock for 9 months. Annoying, right? The other thing I'll say about e-commerce is that I didn't fully appreciate, but I think this is a really important thing for other designers thinking about doing this. So you have these people who follow you. They all express like, oh my God, I love that light. Oh my God, I love that fabric. Oh my God, I love that light. To here's $2,000 for that light is a long gap online. It's not that long of a gap when you have a personal relationship with a client. And they've hired you for your expertise. And they are sitting there in your foyer with you saying, what light should I put here? And you say to them, one of these 2 lights is the right one. That's not a far gap. They already mentally, they know you're there to sell them a light. They know how much a light is going to be because you've already prepped them. Online, it's really easy to say, hey, I love that light. It's not that easy to bring out the credit card and go like, yeah, I guess I'm going to buy this $2,000 light from this person I've never met online and hope it gets, you know what I mean?
Totally. I've actually wondered that because you are selling designer pieces in the sense that this is not Wayfair pricing. This is not Go-To pricing. Like you are selling high-end goods. How are people buying high-end just online? I would imagine. I mean, I'm so curious because it seems to me that the clients that have $2,000 to spend on a light probably also can afford to hire a designer.
That's exactly right. So you need to have the high-end designer $2,000 light pieces on your site, but you also need to have the, $50 bases, because for every $2,000 light you sell, you're going to sell 300 of those $50 bases because it's way easier to pull the trigger on those things. And people just don't have the confidence. Like when you're a designer working with a client, you give them, your presence gives them the confidence to know this is the right light. This is the right investment for this piece. you can't do that in an online kind of relationship, you know?
Yeah. And also in your house, you see what you're in charge of the whole thing, not just one light.
Exactly. So it's a much harder sell online. So just because you have people following you who like what you do doesn't mean those people are willing to break out their credit cards and purchase. And nor do they necessarily know how much these things cost. Like, oh my gosh, those drapes are amazing. This is $10,000 of drapery. The average person is not like, oh yeah, you know, that's just not.
Totally. They're like, what the what? How on earth? I was at HomeSense last week and I could get 2 panels for $100.
That's it. So it's a different business model. It requires different skill sets. It requires different team members, but it also, I guess what I'm saying is don't delude yourself, and don't underestimate your power in the equation of selling something. When I get online and I show people things and I talk about them live in stories, they sell at a clip that you can't fathom versus if something is just online. Do you know what I'm saying? Like showing someone the scale, showing you holding something, all of those things are important versus just showing a picture on a website.
So what about the items that you hold in inventory, like the smaller items that you have? Because I've seen you in your stories. You're like, oh, we just got these in, or these prints or whatever. What if it's something, maybe not a print that's light, but like a bowl, or, you know, you have lots of things like that that are beautiful. Like, how much doesn't it cost you an arm and a leg to get them? And then how do you branded boxes, and like, what is that process?
Had to figure all that out, right? Because at first it was like, yeah, we're just going to order things and we'll ship them out of here out of the studio. And then that very quickly turns out that that's not an option. I've gotten really far in my career just asking myself this question. Okay, this is a problem. I'm having a problem. I don't know how to fix it. Who else would have had this problem? Like, take a step back out of your little world and go like, all right, well, I can't possibly be the first one to ever have this problem, right? Surely other people out there have had this problem and have had to solve it. Go about it that way. Also, if you are the first one to have a problem, like, that's your new business. Quit what you're doing. You just need to fix the problem. You're going to just figure out how to solve that problem. So I thought, okay, we can't keep fulfilling things out of here. Everybody's on Shopify or on these e-commerce platforms. Surely there have got to be other supporting businesses that have come up to just help people execute these e-commerce sites. And in fact, there are warehouses that integrate with Shopify, where you literally order your products, ship it to the warehouse. It automatically gets skewed, tied into your SKU on Shopify. It goes live as long as you have the images listed, like, you know, loaded up with your listings and all of that. And then they fulfill. The orders come overnight. They automatically get uploaded to their system. They pick and pack it. They update the inventory. They have very better UPS rates because they're doing this for now. Like, imagine this is just a giant warehouse, like in the middle of the country, doing this for hundreds and hundreds of e-commerce sites. So they have that buying power of boxes and packing material, and
they do it at scale. And I guess you call them a fulfillment center. Is that what their term is?
Yep,
but then
exactly.
Do they have like branded like honey stickers and stuff?
Hey, if you can do whatever you want on that side of it, you just send it to them. And it's an app that you go through. I mean, there's a whole bunch of offerings like this, but the one we use, you just go through and say like, yes, this piece is going to need to be bubble wrapped. These are the boxes you're going to use. There's a lot of upfront kind of, setup. But in the last year, I have to say, it's a lot of squeeze for not a lot of juice. Just being honest, and I think a lot of us are feeling that way with a lot of things, but it's not that people aren't buying things online. Of course, we're all buying more things online than ever before. It's just fulfilling those orders just gets so tedious.
I mean, for a nanosecond, I'm like, this would be really smart. And then I thought about all the logistics and all the costs involved in it. And I thought, it takes a special kind of business person to be like so diligent and understand and coordinate in the logistics and the operations that I'm much more of like the visionary. And it's possible a lot of designers like think it's an easy add-on to their service.
Oh, I won't have to deal with clients. You know what I mean? I could just sell things and like, absolutely. And it is that, but it's a lot of other things, too.
you must need to have super nailed down systems then. Like, how are you you're basically managing two businesses.
Two businesses, exactly. Yeah. We talked a little bit about this, at the beginning before we started recording, but I decided as I entered my 40s that this was just going to be the decade of like just trying things. And so I feel absolutely no shame in saying I tried it, it didn't work, or I tried it, I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I tried it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us have such fear of like, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work? Then what? It's like, then so what? You know what I mean? So all those things that I said, I thought about doing principles, or I thought about doing like B2B kind of design. I might still do those things. I might decide that, hey, I tried this shop thing, didn't work. I might spin that into just like, hey, all you other like designers that want to learn about this. Now I'm going to teach you what I learned. There's other opportunities there. It doesn't have to, I feel like I'm not as iron grip onto an idea like, no, this must work. Mm-hmm. It may work. It may just provide a whole bunch of learnings. Both of those things are okay. For me, both of them are okay at this point in my business,
I think that's a really important lesson though. And I think that sometimes you have to get to a certain stage in your life where you recognize like, shoot, like it isn't one thing that I'm going to do that's the be all and end all. Let's just try things. And let's so try it. Yeah. Like Michelle Obama says in her books, I'm listening to her book Becoming right now. And she talks about how it's ludicrous that we ask children, what do you want to be when you grow up? As if it's this finite thing and It's a destination that once you become an adult, that's it. And you're set. And that's so not the reality.
You can never change. And you can never change. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And as you get older, you kind of realize that, right? It's like, there's opportunity here to like pivot and change and be a few different things and try a few different things. And there's no shame in trying something and going, I don't know if I like that. And that's the other thing too. Like the business is doing fine. But at the end of the day, is this how I want to spend my time?
Yeah.
Is that you only have so many hours? Is that how you want to spend your time? Or would you rather focus your energies on something else? Would you rather try a different venture? Would you rather really go like, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go gung ho. We're going to hire to this. We're going to, it's all okay.
It's okay to go all in on something and it not work out. Also, one thing that I'm learning is it's okay to go all in on something that's not what's expected of you. It's not what, like for me, like starting this podcast and starting online courses for designers, because I love community and I love to give back and I love to help. And I just love seeing all this transformation. At the beginning, I really had a hard time because, I had people in my life who were sort of like, what are you doing? What is this little thing you're doing? Like, just stay in your lane, like stay focusing on your design firm. Like, isn't that where you want to be? And I'm like, I don't know. Is it? Yeah. Does it have to be? And like, I have had an internal struggle the last couple of years of my goals are changing. What I thought I wanted 10 years ago, it's shifting. And I think I finally realized it's okay. But I maybe, as a designer too, for designers that are listening, like hearing all the different paths and different ways that you can try, like, I think it's awesome that you sell product and you really nailed it. Everybody else is like, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too. Or maybe you're like, oh, shoot, that sounds like a lot of work.
What? But just don't be afraid to try things. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think as long as if you know your finances and you go about it smartly, don't be afraid to try things. And I don't think you'll know whether or not something is the like be all end all dream unless you try it. I never would have pegged myself as someone who liked educating other designers or like empowering other designers, giving them ideas or tips, or I never would have thought that. I mean, I don't necessarily like to train people or teach, but there is a really great feeling that you get from imparting wisdom that you have come to painfully on another, you know what I mean? It feels good to be like, listen, I know you think this is a great idea, but here's what's going to happen in 2 years. That's, and is there a business opportunity there? I think lots of other designers are showing us that there is a business opportunity there.
But also, just because you see everybody doing something, this is what I want my disclaimer to be. Just because you see everybody doing something doesn't mean that it's actually successful, doesn't mean that they're making money, doesn't mean they've got it figured out the way that you have. Like, we always assume from social media, like, oh, they're offering e-design. Oh my gosh, I can't. Wow.
So true. You have no idea what people's business situation is. Yeah, you don't. And you're looking at everyone's highlight reel and you're like, oh my God, they're doing so great. It's like, they're getting a divorce. You don't know. You know what I mean? Like you just have no idea. So I think that social media and Instagram are great for inspiration, but I try really hard to, even though I follow lots of other designers, I try not to go to other designers' accounts for inspiration. Like when I'm in the initial like sort of design planning process for a project, I try really hard to stay off of Instagram design accounts and all that, because whether you know it or not, those things are seeping into your psyche. And I had this happen to me kind of earlier on in my career, where you think you have this great, like original idea, and then you're on your Pinterest account and you're like, I saw that 4 years ago. What? I thought that was my idea.
Oh my goodness. Subliminal design
seeping in. Exactly. I mean, listen, there's nothing that original under the sun anymore. It's just all reinterpretations of things. So
it's I'm not saying how you put it together. Yeah. That's things. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not like, oh, stay off Instagram because you're so original. No, I'm not saying that at all.
But so you have this design business.
Sorry.
Yeah. But you have this design business, but you're doing like massive projects from what I can tell. Like you're in the Cape. Is that what they call it? The Cape?
Yes, on the Cape. Yes.
Doing like big mansions. And you have this other business where you're selling goods online. Like how many people do you have working for you? What has that process been like? Like, how do you grow a team?
Yeah.
Or are you doing everything? Like, are you still doing all of the design? Like I see you when you're physically there with your clients all the time. And I think, oh my goodness, how is this woman? You have a family, right? Like, how do you do this?
I am still involved in all the design, 100%. Every design presentation, every client email comes to my inbox, all of that. Will it always be that way? I haven't really decided as a business owner if I want it to always be that way, because I'm conscious that I'm at sort of this precipice of I can grow this business, and doing so will require me to grow this team. And even just right now, I have two other people who work with me full time. I have a lot of contractors that I use. I can't tell, like, if you are starting out and you're like, I'm not sure how to grow this, contractors are your best resource, I think.
Freelance designers, people who can come in,
freelance bookkeepers, all of those things that you're like, I'm wearing too many hats, you can hire out and have other people. But anyway, I could grow the business. I could bring on more clients. We have way more inquiries than we're able to take on. We have a wait list. I could do all of those things, but that would change my role in the business from design to manager. And as soon as you bring somebody on, that happens anyway, right? Like more of my day now is spent managing than it is designing. And some days that's okay. And some days I'm like, I didn't get to play with fabrics today, but you have to really like take a hard look in the mirror and realize that your value to the business is no longer in the nitty-gritty detail of the design, because that's something that somebody else can be doing. And that your value is in bringing in new business. It's in developing processes for these employees to follow. That's a hard transition to make though. When you've been working by yourself and you've had a hand in everything, it's a hard transition, I think, for a lot of people, because initially you're like, oh, they're not going to do it exactly how I do it. What if they do it wrong? But you'll get over that, because you'll be like, oh my gosh, they're doing the thing I used to do, and now I get to be doing something else. So you get over that. And there are mistakes, and you learn from or whatever, but more so what I'm talking about is the conscious decision of like, okay, my job now is going to be managing these people and getting them to be better designers and helping them in their career, versus me figuring out what the right wallpaper that match this paint swatch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's, of course, I definitely know what you mean. Yeah. It's funny. It's like, I think this happens in many industries, and not just when you're an entrepreneur, but you have a craft, you're good at something, you get promoted to manager, right? Yeah. And that doesn't mean you know or want to manage people and oversee what they're doing. Right. But you're right. It is a necessary element for growth. And so I found myself there, a couple of years ago where I was, I want to grow. And I always had this vision of this big firm, but I felt like all I was doing was like hand holding, managing, and doing a bit of design, but just not enjoying that side of it, to the point where I was like, do I even want to do this anymore? Yeah. Because I was so in that side of things. And so I think you need to take a step back and sort of think about where you, like you just said, like where, for me, it was like, okay, where do I see this going? Maybe this isn't going where I thought it was initially going. And that's okay. And what does that mean for me? Yeah. But you only have 2 employees. I guess you have a lot of people on contract too.
Yeah. I don't do any of my own renderings, we do floor planning and like CAD drawings and all of that, but on big projects, I outsource that, for the e-commerce stuff, all of that, the fulfillment of all that is outsourced. We have a bookkeeper on staff, or as a contractor. I tried to hire to my weaknesses, and I know I am a creative person, but I'm not super organized. So the very first person I brought on as a design assistant, she's insanely organized. She's a superstar. She's now a junior designer. She's super capable. So now it's like, okay, well, her needs when she first came on are completely different than what her needs are now. Now what she needs is more guidance from me and processes to follow, but she doesn't need me to hold her hand for everything. So now my job is to give her a solid set of processes to follow so that I am not the bottleneck, because that very quickly happens, right? It's like if every design decision has to come through you and your kid is sick and you're home, now suddenly you're the bottleneck to your business. You're the one that is preventing that project from going out to presentation or whatever it is, So coming up with what those processes are, because I want the people who work for me to feel empowered and like they're learning, but also supported. Like I'm not just out here trying to figure things out on my own kind of thing,
Yeah, I totally get it. I feel like it's taken me a long time to learn that. I was just in a meeting yesterday. We brought on an intern for social media coordination and like all that. And I said to my team, I was like, we need to give him like what is expected weekly. Because I have processes in my design business, but when it comes to marketing, I've never really developed anything. It's just been like Vera and I winging it. Okay, you do this, I'll do that, and sort of divide and conquer. And so I realized we need set processes for him so that he can say, okay, like I need to like do the analytics, like a checklist of here's what's expected of you. Here's where you can find some of the answers. So you're right. Because I've been the bottleneck. When I first started hiring, it was like people were just sort of waiting for direction.
Exactly.
And then
you're paying those people while they're waiting.
Exactly. And then you're like, well, I'll just do it myself. It's much easier.
I know. Right. And then you're caught in, you are the bottleneck. Exactly. So I think that I wish I had done this earlier in my business, but when you're by yourself, you don't put as much of like when you're working by yourself, you have a process. It's just all in your head. You haven't taken the time to document that process and you go, oh, it's fine. I know how to do it. But even I would encourage anyone listening, even if you work by yourself, take the time to write out, like literally just open a Google document and just write out, okay, how does this business work from start to finish? How does it work? Someone calls me, someone contacts me. Do I track leads? Should I? Maybe I should. Maybe I should say like, how many people are contacting me every month and where are they coming from? And did I send them a proposal? Did they ultimately sign? Just that right there is the beginnings of knowing what does your lead pipeline look like? And am I going to be too busy in 6 months? Am I going to need to, like, it's thinking through those like little pieces of what your business is, even though it doesn't seem to be important when it's just you. It's like the backbone of your business, and it is what will either determine that you'll be able to seamlessly bring on other people or really struggle through that process, especially in the beginning.
It's also a powerful exercise just to see the volume of tasks that you do.
Amazing. Yes.
That's actually an exercise in power of process, because that's sort of how I figured it out. It's like literally you need to write down from start to finish what it is that you do to start and complete a project. Yeah. And then you can look at it, and that's when you can kind of say, okay, well, hey, maybe I don't need to do these 4 things.
Right.
Somebody else can do it.
Right. All of the things when I decided I needed to hire, when I did similar to what you did, listing out tasks and going, okay, all of these things that I find annoying, that I'm just like, ugh, I have to like set this client up in this new process system, and like all of those things that you find annoying because they've become second nature to you, but they're not second nature to someone like coming out of school and hungry to learn. So you can take the things that you find annoying and turn them into learning opportunities for other people. And now you've just freed up that space in your day to do other things. Now, I will tell you from firsthand experience, knowing what to do with that freed up time is the trick. Because suddenly you go like, oh, okay. Oh, you're doing that? Okay. All right. Oh, you're doing that? Okay. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like suddenly, that's when you have to pivot and go like, okay, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to work on documenting what the photo shoot process is supposed to be.
Right.
I'm going to work on sending proposals. I'm going to work on some templated emails because I seem to be sending the same goddamn email 35 times a week. You know?
Yes, I know. It could be tempting too to be like, oh, you're doing that and you're doing that thing. I might go for lunch.
Yes. Let's do that. Let's do it at Home Goods. Exactly. But that, when you get the space, you're not going to know what to do with the space unless you've documented, like, here are all the things. And then you get to the point where you go, here are the things that only I can do. So here is my unique, like this is the value I bring to this business right now, because she's not going to do new business proposals, or she's not going to do whatever that might be. It becomes clear, like, these are the tasks where I add the most value. These are only my tasks. I don't need to be doing those other things. Those are other opportunities that somebody else could be learning from, that I've done a million times. The hardest part for me that I'm letting go of is the design, because I will see my junior designers pulling together schemes and I want to be like, what's that? What are you doing? What are you working on? I don't want to be over here like reconciling
a designer.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be reconciling freight on like with the accountant. I want to be doing that, but that's not where you add value to the business anymore. Doesn't mean you can't. And I think that that's just as powerful. You could say to yourself, okay, it's not where I add value, but I'm not happy at the end of the week if I don't spend some portion of my week in a creative capacity. So even though I know I needed to be doing X, Y, and Z, like I still want to leave time in my schedule to be able to do that. So in my business, the way I've been able to set that up is I give my junior designers the freedom to do all of the initial, like, okay, well, we start with floor plans. They do the floor plans, and then we set up time. I review the floor plans with them, and I say, okay, these are the floor plans that we're going to present to the client. I think this is the right direction. But they had the initial, like, they had the freedom to, play around and go, well, we could do this. It lets them kind of flex their creative muscles a bit, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's, all right, well, now we know we need a sectional, a coffee table about this big, 3 end tables, whatever it might be. You now take the first pass. You pin 10 end tables, you pin 10 coffee, whatever it might be, set up a time with me and we will review those together. So I still have a hand in what the, overall sort of creative vision is. And they were able to, like I said, like sort of, get some creative exercises under their belts as far as like, by the time someone is doing that and you've given them the flexibility and the freedom to do that, they know your design aesthetic. They know, like my junior designers know Dina's not going to like that.
It's too beige.
You know what I mean? Like they'll come back from the design center with a wallpaper and be like, I know this is crazy, but you're going to love it. And they'll hold it up and they'll be like, oh my God, I do love it. So that's where the magic happens, right? But you got to keep people happy and keep people feeling like there's a reason to stay with you. And I think as a small business, you don't have to deal with this in Canada, but as a small business in the States, like there's a lot of expenses. There's health insurance coverage. There's a lot of things that you have to think through when you bring somebody on. It's a giant investment. There are going to be things that you can't compete on as a small business. You're not going to be able to, have the highest salary or have the best benefits or whatever, but there are other things that you can offer people. So I've had to get creative about, all right, I've got this amazing talent. I want to keep her. I want her to keep her forever. How do I keep her happy? Yes, of course, you want to look at salary, but I think, your superpower as a small business owner is you can say to someone, what is it that you value? What do you want? Do you want to work from home 2 days a week? Great. Let's figure out how you can work from home 2 days a week. Should we do summer Fridays from like Labor Day to Memorial Day? Yeah, great. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Like there are other ways that you can add value to someone's life that aren't just,
Not just financial.
Just financial, right? And as a small business owner, you need to think about those things because, very quickly it becomes like, all right, well, I can't give this person a 25% raise every year.
Yeah.
But how do I keep them happy?
But you know what, I think, and somebody else told me this once, it was my old operations manager, and she retired after she worked for me. So it was, had life experience.
You went out on top.
So but she said to me, she's like, Rebecca, like, it's not just like, you've got to think, what can we do for people? Is it like a lunch? Is it summer Fridays? Like, there are things that people value that will make them almost as happy, if not happier sometimes, than more money.
Absolutely.
And that balance.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
And those things are different for everybody. Like I have one woman who she drives really, really far. So she works from home twice a week. So it's like each individual person's, I don't now, but I've had young moms work for me. It's like, well, what the value there is they just want flexibility in their day. So I would say in the beginning of my business, when I first started exploring the idea of working with contractors, the stay-at-home mom market is like the largest untapped market of talent, I think, happening in the country, because you have all of these super educated, smart, and I'm just saying women because, a lot of women decide that they're going to take a break from their careers and they're going to stay home, and then maybe they can't go back to that career because it's just, they don't have the flexibility in their day to work 9 to 5 and take a train both ways and blah, blah, they want to work, they want to use their brains, but they can't work in that sort of traditional sitting in a cubicle for 10 hours a day model. There are so many women staying at home who would be happy to work 4 or 5 hours a day, but they need to be able to work those 4 or 5 hours when they can work those 4 or 5 hours. That's value.
Right. So true.
That's value. It's like, if you can come up with tasks that someone needs to do and you don't care when they get done, there's so many people out there, talented, intelligent, looking to work, but they just, and that's valuable to them. Like, okay, I will stay at this job because I can work on my own schedule.
Yeah. I mean, it has to work for you, but I think if this pandemic has taught us anything, it's certainly taught me that I do not need to have my team in the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I agree.
no, we can be flexible. And yes, I want to have some in-person contact for sure, but it's not necessary to get the job done.
It's not necessary. What is necessary is thinking through the processes that are going to keep that motor going when you're not all in the office. Because for us, we are so collaborative as a team when we're in that same office environment. And it's so easy to be like, oh, hey, what would look good with that is that, go in that bin. That when you can't do that because you're not physically there together, in the absence of having that physical time together, it's like, how can you use technology to move things forward? How can you be documenting things? How can you make it so everybody knows on any given day what they're working on? Like, there's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff like that we had to very quickly pivot and learn as a result. But it has made me more aware of, someone said to me, run your business like you're starting a franchise. And I remember at the time thinking, what the hell does that mean? But if you, even as you're just one person with another person working with you, if you can think through, okay, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, how would someone know what to do and document those things? I know it sounds so boring and so rudimentary, but like, that is the power, because then it's not like, oh, I need to hire someone, but I just don't have time. And how am I going to train them? And how are they going to know what to do? If you've documented things, that entire process becomes simpler, because it's like, okay, here's your handbook of how we do things here. Of course, they're going to have questions. Of course, that's natural, but run your business like you're starting a franchise. And what would that mean if a brand new franchise owner came on and was like, well, how do we do this? How does the sausage get made here?
What kind of franchise are you running, Dina? So true. I mean, hello, I developed an entire course about process because I'm so freaking passionate about it, because it has been a game changer in my business. And we're still working on it. It's not like I've got it all figured out. I don't
think it's ever done. I don't think it's ever
a living, breathing thing.
That's right. Yeah. I think the power of process is, and you were on this process bandwagon. I'm talking about like in the last year, I've been like, okay, I've really got to figure this out. Like I can't just do this on our own anymore. We got to really like put some pen to paper. I think the power of process is that it is iterative. It is always changing. And the power of process is going back into the process and adding what you've learned. So just because you've written it down and been like, this is how we do things, don't be afraid to try things differently. And if it works better, integrate that into your process, right?
Absolutely. We change things like literally weekly. I had a meeting with my designer. We have like milestone checkpoints now, so that it's like you check in, same thing as you, like you check in with me. Let's review the floor plans. Let's come up with the best solution. Cause I'll see things that they don't see, but they still get the opportunity to draw it out based on what we've talked about. And then we had a checkpoint to review fabrics or something, or it was just some initial selections. And there was something that we realized, like, shoot, we really need to add this to our process. Like we need to add, I don't remember what it was, like sending a card to thank the client for hiring us. You know what? We used to do that after the consultation, but it feels funny because snail mail takes longer and they don't get it right away. And so let's wait and send the card. Let's send a thank you email after the consultation, and let's send the card after they've signed on because they've just given us all this money. Yeah. And so we're like, hey, go into Asana, and we use Asana to track it because the thing is I used to use Google Docs, but then it's like because it's so changing and living and breathing, we now use Asana and we have like every single task in there. So we go in, we're like, hey, go in and change the template. It's literally happening on a weekly basis for us because, and also I think as your business grows and changes, right?
Exactly.
More people, you need more processes.
Well, right. So really close to the beginning of the pandemic, I hired someone who she works as an assistant, but she also works as a purchasing manager. So in our process, right, we've done the design, the client has approved it. My junior designer turns everything into POs, and then it gets passed off to purchasing, and she just handles purchasing. That's literally all she does. Well, that was a change in the process because that used to be one job. One person used to do all of that.
Right.
And split that into two tasks, right? So the person who was originally doing everything, yes, now some of her time has gotten freed up, but again, the things that she was doing naturally in her head, because it was just her doing it, we've had to take a step back and go like, okay, well, and it happens because mistakes happen. The first time out of the gate, mistakes happen. It was like, okay, how do we keep that from happening again? That wouldn't have happened if it was just you doing it by yourself, but that's not a reason to keep doing it that way. Just because, a mistake wouldn't have happened. What that means is you didn't document it well enough for the new person who's doing it to know what to look for, right? So I absolutely, like as the job changes, as you grow, as you add more tasks and staff, like inevitably you have to start splitting off, like who's responsible for what. That all comes back to like, well, what's the process? What is the handoff? Who's doing it?
Yeah.
Where does the buck stop?
Yeah, you're right. It's once you see mistakes, which is not very encouraging to hear, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, why did that lamp arrive in the wrong size? I mean, what happened? And then we had a meeting. We're like, let's go back. Okay, the person who created the purchase order was supposed to send it to the designer for approval. Okay, so did the designer approve the purchase order? Well, they did. Okay, so then I guess the designer missed that the SKU didn't match the description.
Oh, been there so many times. The SKU is one thing.
Yep. You're like, the designer's looking. So I'm like, okay, how do we fix this so that the next time we go to order something, it doesn't happen? And so we're all tweaking. But, that's part of business growth. I think, too, for a lot of people who are starting on their own, and if you're listening to this designer and you're like, it's just me. Like, I can't imagine having processes. It's not something that I had when I started out. Just like you're saying, Dina, it's not something you had. But I think if you can start like baby steps with the little things.
Yep.
And like you said, like start to delegate some of the tasks to the ones you don't like.
The ones you don't like, the ones that aren't adding value to your day. The ones that you're like, this is so mundane. I know how to do this. I do it every day. Well, someone else doesn't know how to do those things. Someone else that's like a learning opportunity for someone else. Someone else is psyched to learn to do those things.
But and very quickly, they might love that. They might love that.
Oh my God, Rebecca. When I first hired a project manager, I was on a giant construction renovation job and I didn't have a project manager. And I was doing a lot of the project managing, and someone said to me, why don't you just hire a project manager? And I thought, well, who the hell would do this full time? People like doing this?
This is so stressful.
Right. I remember thinking like, I'm never going to find someone to just do this. And my friend was like, no, this is what people do. People do this for their entire job. I thought, that's a terrible job. But there are people who they get off on that, like task lists and, more power to you. Great.
Following up, making sure that
yes.
Yes. Like invoicing. I hate freaking invoicing.
I do too.
But there's people that are like, oh, I went to Design Docs. It's all set up now. It's organized. The bank statement is reconciled for this month. I'm like, what? I never had it reconciled. Would it be like 3 months later? People will be asking me, what was this charge for? I'm like, I don't remember.
Exactly. So that's our purchasing person purchases everything, reconciles freight, is interacting with our bookkeeper constantly. It's a lot. I mean, 80% of this business is just business, just like any other business. It's not, you know what I mean? It's client relations, it's accounting, it's new business development, it's marketing, it's just business. And then there's the creative part. But I have read a great book recently called Run Studio Run. Have you ever read that book?
No, I'm going to write that down. Run Studio Run?
Yes, it's so good. And it's not about interior design. It is about running a small creative studio. So it talks mostly about like ad agency, just creative studios, a branding studio, a naming, whatever it might be. But there are so many parallels. There's so many things that directly from this book, I was like, yes, I need to be doing that. I need to be tracking leads. I need to be I can't recommend it highly enough. But that goes back to my point of so much of this business is just business. So don't get so stuck in, well, how do other designers do it? It's like, how do other businesses do this?
Totally. Yes. And reading business books that aren't necessarily for designers. Totally. Yep. E-Myth was one of my first business books that I read, which it highlights the fact that just because you're creative doing your craft, that's not enough to run a business.
Right.
And that's how a lot of us start. We're creatives. We like to work with fabrics. We did a beautiful job. And people are like, oh, I want to hire you. And all of a sudden it's like, you're running a business, but we really just wanted to be a designer creative.
Yeah. But wake up. That's not what's happening. You're running.
Wake up and smell the roses, people.
Wake up. That is not what's happening. You are. Yeah.
You're on vacation. I'm going to let you go because we're going over time. But so you're on vacation. My question to you is, are you working while on vacation?
So this is the first, I'm about to blow your mind. I mean, it blew my mind. Okay. I bring my laptop and I'm checking in. I'm like looking at email. This is the first time I've looked at my laptop was to do this podcast with you. I come out in the morning. I have my coffee on this screened-in porch. I go through emails and then that's it. And then I don't look again. I've gotten 2 texts, I want to say, while I've been away. And it's just been like quick little email like questions or whatever. But all of that is because there was a lot of work that went into planning being away, right? Like for the very first time ever, a photo shoot is happening at a project next week and I won't be there because I'm on vacation. I'm going for 2 weeks.
Whoa, it's amazing.
Right. So my team is handling this photo shoot. Typically, that would stress me out. But I have such confidence in their abilities. We did all of this upfront planning. We went through shot lists. It's going to be great. And I cannot tell you, if you are a designer right now and you're like, that's a different planet than what I'm on. Like I can't even, you can get there. You really can get there. But it just takes investing in your people and empowering them. Because everybody wants to feel like, sometimes I sit back and I marvel. I'm like, you know what? These women come to work every day and they work hard. And it's like, this isn't their business. This is my business. Like they're working hard here for on my behalf. Right. Like don't lose sight of that. That's awesome. So like empower them, right? They're working for you. So what's going to make them happy? They want to feel like they have a say in what they do every day. And,
yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot of power to that. You can keep people happy for a long time. But
yeah. And it sounds like you're doing that. It sounds like you've got like an incredible team, an incredible business. Okay. Before we sign off, I could keep talking. I feel like we could keep talking for hours. We'll do this again.
Okay.
Maybe I'll come down to Boston.
Don't come in the winter.
No, I've been in the winter.
You're from Canada. It's fine. Come in February.
I know, exactly. Actually, I think I'm going to come down in October because my sister's birthday, but I think I'll just come without the family just because of the quarantining and the vaccinations and my kids are too little.
Yeah.
We'll see. To be confirmed. Okay. Before we sign off, so many things we've talked about, but what would you say would be your last nugget of wisdom as a leave behind to all the designers who are listening today?
Oh boy. That's so hard.
I realize I'm putting you in the spot.
No, it's okay. I mean, there's just so many things.
I think like while you're thinking, just so for those of you, like, we'll give, Dina at Honey and Fits a follow, but she's so inspirational. I think you've been so inspirational. And even for me, like just seeing you say, oh, this is the way it's done. This is what things cost. You're also often like putting it out there in your stories. Like, this is what things cost. Not compromising like this, I'm going to do my design aesthetic. Like for me, that's been so inspirational to see like, okay, like I'm just going to do what I want to do, not the safe route. Cause I still do projects where I'm like, that's not really my true personal design aesthetic. And I can't wait to do my own, we're building a farmhouse and I can't wait to just do what I want without fear of judgment or anything, or fear that it's not going to be liked. So I think for me, and like seeing you just tackle these business endeavors and just go all in is very inspirational. But I don't know, what else is there that you can share other than what you already know?
If you're starting out, if you're like, you're within 3 years of starting or whatever, I think it can be really difficult when you haven't worked for somebody else and you're starting out fresh to know what is a realistic budget. How much should I be asking people for? Oh my God, is that how much a couch costs? All of that. You need to educate yourself as quickly as you can about what things really cost. Don't be afraid to talk to other designers. It's so hard. I think if I had been more willing to pick up the phone and just be like, hey, can we talk for 10 minutes or whatever? I think I would have learned at a pace that eclipses what I actually learned at, because I had to learn all those mistakes on my own, and you're just by yourself making those mistakes by yourself and going, oh my God, is that it? Now we're out of business. Like, that's just how this goes, educate yourself about what things cost. And someone said this to me, like sometime in the last year. And I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful. Don't ever estimate that what a client thinks something should cost. Like, the word budget is kind of a dirty word. It's really like, you have no idea what someone's financial situation is. You have no idea how much money they're planning to spend. Just because they say to you, I only want to spend $30,000 on this room, doesn't mean they don't have $60,000 to do that room. You don't know. Your job is to do the best job that you can, present them with the best options. And if they decide to splurge, you don't know what their financial situation is. So take the word budget out of your discussion and call it an investment, because that's really what they're doing, is making an investment in their home. And your job is to just show them, okay, this is what a $2,000 chair looks like, but here's a $3,000 chair and it's better. And they'll look at it and go, yeah, that is better. And then it's for them to decide, but don't delude yourself here. Like, yes, there are people making money off of e-design and all of that, but like, this is a business that services a luxury clientele, period. And you need to get comfortable talking to people about money, because you're going to be spending their money.
And understanding that your personal sticker shock is not always going to be, and in fact, most of the time I'd say it's not the same sticker shock that your client has.
100%. I was so guilty of that in the beginning, of being like, I cannot recommend a $50,000 rug. Who the hell would buy that rug? But that's your own bias. That's coming from how I grew up and the financial situation I grew up, right? That's all of that. That has no bearing at all on what is right for that room and for that client and for that home.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get there.
Wow, girl. I hope everyone listening, I hope you all are offering up $50 rugs to your clients. I can't wait for you to report back. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for making the time on your vacation to open up and join me. Can you let everybody know where they can find you? I feel like we've said it, but just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. So online, DinaHollandInteriors.com, and on Instagram at honeyandfits, HoneyandFitz.com. No, not .com, Instagram.
Or Zed if you're Canadian.
Oh,
I know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rebecca. Have a great rest of your day.